My life as a cardiologist was pretty straightforward until Alex walked into my clinic. That day changed everything. I remember it was a busy Tuesday morning, and I was halfway through my coffee when he came in, looking a bit nervous but with a smile that could light up the room. "Good morning, Dr. Smith," he greeted, extending his hand. "I'm Alex. Here for the 10 a.m. appointment." I shook his hand, noting the firm grip. "Nice to meet you, Alex. Please, have a seat. What brings you in today?" He laughed, a bit awkwardly, and said, "Well, I've been getting these weird chest pains." "Probably nothing, but my buddy dared me to get it checked out," said I'm getting old. I couldn't help but smile. "Let's not jump to conclusions. We'll run some tests and see what's up. How old are you, if you don't mind me asking?" 32, he replied, with a grin. "But according to my friend, that's ancient." The consultation went smoothly. Alex was easy to talk to, and he had a way of making the mundane seem interesting. After the tests, I assured him there was nothing serious, just stress-related. He seemed relieved, but lingered a bit longer than necessary. "So, Dr. Smith, since I'm all healthy and not ancient yet, would you consider having dinner with me? As a thank you for the peace of mind?" His tone was playful, but I could tell he was serious. I hesitated, not used to mixing work with my personal life. "I'm not sure that's a good idea, Alex." I try to keep professional boundaries. He leaned in, a mischievous glint in his eyes. "Come on, it's just dinner. No strings attached. I promise I'm a decent cook, and I make killer lasagna." I laughed, surprised by his persistence. "Alright, lasagna does sound tempting. But just dinner, okay?" "Deal," he exclaimed, looking victorious. In the months that followed, Alex was relentless in his pursuit. He'd show up at my clinic with coffee just the way I liked it, or surprise me with tickets to a concert of a band I mentioned in passing. His charm was undeniable, and his attention, intoxicating. 6 months into our whirlwind romance, he popped the question in the most Alex way possible, during a hike, out of breath, and with a ring that was slightly too big. "Erica, I'm probably going to regret this tomorrow when my muscles are screaming, but I can't wait any longer. Will you marry me?" he asked, panting and kneeling on one knee. I laughed, tears in my eyes, both from the joy and the absurdity of the moment. "Yes, Alex, I'll marry you. But only if you promise to carry me back down this trail." That was the beginning of our adventure together. Little did I know, the real challenge was just around the corner. Meeting his mother, Elizabeth, for the first time was when I realized our journey wouldn't be as smooth as I had hoped. She was the epitome of strict and domineering, with a love for her son that bordered on obsession. Our first meeting was over dinner at their family home. Elizabeth eyed me like a hawk, sizing me up as if I were an adversary rather than a potential family member. The tension was palpable, and Alex seemed to shrink a bit under his mother's gaze. "So, Erica, Alex tells me you're a cardiologist. That must be demanding," Elizabeth said, her tone polite but cold. "Yes, it is, but I love my job. It's rewarding to help people," I replied, trying to keep the conversation light. "And you plan to continue working after the wedding?" Her question felt more like an interrogation. I nodded, suddenly feeling defensive. "Yes, I've worked hard to get where I am. I don't see why getting married should change that." Elizabeth's lips thinned into a disapproving line. "I see. Well, I just hope you remember that your first duty is to your husband and future family, not your career." That night, Alex and I had a long talk. He assured me that we'd face whatever came our way together, including his mother's disapproval. I wanted to believe him, but deep down, I knew this was just the beginning. Elizabeth wasn't the type to back down, and neither was I. After the wedding, Alex and I settled into our routine. Life was good, or so I thought, until Elizabeth, my mother-in-law, decided it was her divine mission to fix our lives. Her surprise visits became a regular annoyance, each one marked by her critical eye scanning our apartment like a drill sergeant inspecting a barracks. One Saturday, as Alex and I were enjoying a rare lazy morning, the doorbell rang. I glanced at the clock, 8 a.m., and groaned. Alex shot me a knowing look before heading to the door. Sure enough, Elizabeth barged in, her eyes immediately zeroing in on the unwashed dishes from last night's dinner. "Good morning, Elizabeth," I said, trying to keep my voice neutral. "To what do we owe the pleasure?" She sniffed, ignoring my question. "You know, Erica, a clean home is a happy home. It's not healthy to live in such disarray." Alex, ever the peacemaker, chimed in. "Mom, we were just about to clean up. Why don't you sit down, and I'll make you some coffee?" But Elizabeth was on a roll, her gaze now fixed on the living room. "And that couch. It's all wrong for the space. Have you considered moving it against the other wall? And those curtains. Dear, they do nothing for the room." I bit my tongue, counting to 10 in my head. Alex, sensing my growing irritation, tried to steer his mother towards the kitchen. "Mom, seriously, the coffee. Let's go." As they disappeared into the kitchen, I followed, not ready to let Elizabeth have free rein in my apartment. The criticism didn't stop at the decor. Next, she launched into our dietary habits when she noticed the takeout boxes in the trash. "Eating out again? You know, Erica, a wife should take care of her husband's health. Home-cooked meals are the cornerstone of a happy marriage." That did it. I could handle the digs at my cleaning and decorating, but questioning my role as a wife was a step too far. "Elizabeth, I appreciate your concern, but Alex and I are quite happy with our arrangement. We both work long hours, and sometimes, takeout is just easier." She tooted, shaking her head. "I just don't understand your generation. When I was your age, I had a home-cooked meal on the table every night for my husband and son." Alex, bless him, jumped to my defense. "Mom, times have changed. Erica's not just a housewife. She's a brilliant cardiologist, and I'm fully capable of cooking or ordering pizza if it comes to it." The conversation was going nowhere, and Elizabeth's presence was starting to suffocate me. I excused myself, claiming a sudden headache, and retreated to our bedroom, leaving Alex to handle his mother. One day, the invasion reached a new level. Alex and I had planned a weekend getaway, just the two of us, to recharge. We returned home to find our apartment spotless, but not in the way we left it. Furniture was rearranged, new curtains hung in the living room, and our bedroom looked like it had been ripped out of a home decor magazine. "What the?" I started, my eyes wide as I took in the changes. Alex was equally shocked. Did we get robbed by an interior decorator? Before we could process everything, Alex's phone rang. It was Elizabeth, sounding far too pleased with herself. "Did you notice the changes? I couldn't stand to see your apartment in such a state. You'll thank me later." Alex's face turned red, his usual calm demeanor slipping. "Mom, why would you think this is okay? You can't just come in and rearrange our lives." Her response was as infuriating as her actions. "I'm just trying to help. It's clear Erica doesn't know the first thing about keeping a home. Someone had to step in." That was the last straw. Alex, usually the one to smooth things over, was livid. He made it clear to his mother that her help was not welcome and that she was to call before visiting in the future. The news of the pregnancy came as a surprise. Not an unpleasant one, but a surprise nonetheless. I remember staring at the test, my heart racing, until Alex found me in the bathroom, my face probably a picture of shock and awe. "What's up, babe? You look like you've seen a ghost," he said, leaning against the doorway with that easy smile of his. I handed him the test without a word, watching as his expression shifted from curiosity to outright joy. "Seriously? We're gonna have a baby?" he whooped, lifting me off the ground in a tight hug. "Yeah, seems like it," I managed, the reality of it all beginning to sink in. We decided to tell Elizabeth and Alex's dad, Robert, over dinner at their place. Predictably, Elizabeth's reaction was intense. "A baby? Oh, my goodness, this is wonderful news. Finally, I'm going to be a grandmother. Her excitement was genuine, and for a moment, I saw a softer side to her. Robert was equally thrilled, beaming with pride. Congratulations, you too. This is fantastic news. But, of course, Elizabeth couldn't let the moment pass without slipping in her 2 cents. Erica, you'll have to be very careful now. Pregnancy isn't easy, and with your job. Well, I just hope you're planning to take it easy. I bristled at the comment, ready to defend my ability to work and be pregnant, but Alex squeezed my hand under the table, a silent plea to let it go for the night. The pregnancy wasn't easy, as Elizabeth had so eagerly predicted. My peanut allergy, always a nuisance, became a constant threat, requiring me to be extra vigilant. Elizabeth, ever the helpful in-law, had plenty to say about that too. During one particularly difficult week, when I was feeling run down and tired from juggling work and pregnancy, Elizabeth dropped by unannounced, as was her habit. Erica, you look exhausted. Are you sure you should still be working? A woman in your condition needs to rest, she clucked, eyeing me like I was a fragile piece of china. I sighed, not in the mood for a lecture. Elizabeth, I'm fine. My doctor says it's okay to work, and I need to stay active. But your allergies, dear. It's just not safe. What if something happens? You're not just responsible for yourself now, she pressed, her tone a mix of concern and criticism. Alex came to my rescue, walking into the room with perfect timing. Mom, Erica's a doctor. She knows what she's doing. Let's not stress her out more, okay? Elizabeth huffed, clearly not convinced, but dropped the subject. Her concern was touching, in a way, but suffocating. I was a cardiologist, for crying out loud. I knew how to take care of myself and my baby. When we found out we were having a girl, Elizabeth's excitement reached new heights. A granddaughter. Oh, Alex, we must start planning the baby shower immediately. And the nursery. Erica, have you thought about the nursery? After Emily was born, I took a year off to be with her, which was amazing, but also isolating. I missed my work, my colleagues, and the part of me that thrived on helping others. So, I decided it was time to go back, at least part-time, which meant we needed a nanny. The plan seemed simple enough until Elizabeth caught wind of it. She showed up unannounced, as was her way, her face stormy the moment I opened the door. A nanny? Really, Erica? You're going to let a stranger raise our Emily? She practically spat the words out, her disdain for the idea palpable. I sighed, bracing myself for the inevitable confrontation. Elizabeth, it's not like that. I'm going back to work part-time. We need someone to watch Emily, and what? I'm not good enough to watch my own granddaughter. She cut in, her voice rising with each word. It wasn't that she wasn't good enough, it was just that. Well, Elizabeth and I had our differences, and the thought of dealing with her criticisms on a daily basis made my stomach turn. But she was family, and deep down, I hoped this might bridge the gap between us. Look, if you want to help, that would be great. But we're going to do this my way. I can't have you undermining me at every turn, I said, trying to sound more confident than I felt. Elizabeth's eyes narrowed, but after a moment, she nodded. Fine. But I expect to be paid like any other nanny. That should have been my first red flag. Paying Elizabeth felt weird, but if it kept the peace, I was willing to try it. However, peace was the last thing it brought. Every day, I'd come home to a litany of complaints. You're out of laundry detergent again, or, I had to throw out that stale bread. Don't you ever clean out your pantry? It was relentless. Alex tried to mediate, bless him, but it was like trying to stop a hurricane with a fence. One day, I'd had enough. I walked in to find Elizabeth berating me for the tasteless dinner I'd prepared for Alex the night before. You can't feed a child, let alone a grown man, with this slop. That was it. I snapped. Elizabeth, I'm done. I appreciate your help, but this isn't working. You need to stop coming over. Her face went from angry to furious. Fine. See how well you manage without me. She slammed the door on her way out, leaving me shaking, but strangely relieved. Alex came home to find me sitting at the kitchen table, a mix of emotions swirling inside me. She left, I said, simply. He sighed, wrapping his arms around me. I'm sorry, Erica. I know she's my mom, but you're my wife. We'll figure this out together. And that was that. Elizabeth's reign as the nanny from hell was over, and despite the drama, a weight had been lifted. We found a lovely local girl to help with Emily, and life settled into a new, happier rhythm. The day after our big blow-up, Elizabeth called me as if nothing had happened. Erica, I've been thinking, we got off on the wrong foot yesterday. I baked a pie. Thought I'd come over, maybe we can start fresh? I was on edge, still reeling from our last encounter. The last thing I wanted was to see her, but the constant fighting was draining. Maybe this pie was her olive branch. All right, Elizabeth. Let's try this again, I sighed, hoping for the best, but expecting the worst. She showed up 2 hours later, pie in hand, smiling as if we were old friends. Here, I made your favorite. Let's put all that unpleasantness behind us, shall we? I forced a smile, taking the pie. Thanks, Elizabeth. That's very kind of you. Just then, my phone rang. Work needed me, urgently. My heart sank. I couldn't leave Emily alone, not with things so strained between Elizabeth and me. Actually, Elizabeth, I just got called into the clinic. Would you mind watching Emily for a bit? I asked, the words tasting bitter in my mouth. Her eyes lit up, a stark contrast to the dread filling my stomach. Of course, dear. Go, don't worry about a thing. We'll have a grand time. I hesitated, looking at Emily, then back at Elizabeth. There was no choice. Okay, I'll be as quick as I can. Thank you, Elizabeth, I said, rushing to gather my things and head out the door. Driving to work, my mind wasn't on the emergency waiting for me, but on Emily and Elizabeth. The uneasy truce felt fragile, and I couldn't shake the feeling of dread about leaving them together. Every minute dragged on, my thoughts constantly drifting back to how Emily was doing, hoping that Elizabeth's offer to make amends was genuine and not just another tactic to assert her control. The day was dragging on, my mind a constant cycle of worry about Emily and trying to focus on work, when my phone rang. It was Elizabeth, panic-edging every word as she practically yelled, Erica. Emily, she can't breathe properly. You have to do something. My heart plummeted. Calm down, Elizabeth. Tell me exactly what's happening, I said, trying to keep my voice steady despite the rising panic. She's wheezing and her face is all puffed up. What do I do? Elizabeth's voice cracked, a mix of fear and confusion bleeding through. I knew immediately what was happening. Listen to me very carefully. Go to the kitchen, second drawer. There's an EpiPen. Use it now. I'm calling 911 and I'm on my way. Hanging up, I dialed 911, explaining the situation as best as I could while grabbing my keys and rushing out the door. My mind raced, thoughts jumbled. How did this happen? We were so careful with food. I made it home in record time, finding the paramedics already there, attending to Emily. The relief that washed over me when I saw her breathing was better, albeit still strained, was indescribable. Elizabeth was a mess, pacing back and forth, her earlier accusations forgotten in the face of the emergency. I don't know how this happened, Erica. I swear, we didn't eat anything unusual, she said, her voice trembling. I didn't have time to respond, my focus solely on Emily as the paramedics worked. They decided to take her to the clinic for further observation, not wanting to take any chances. I nodded, understanding and grateful for their thoroughness. At the clinic, they confirmed it was anaphylactic shock, likely from a food allergen. I couldn't wrap my head around it. We were so careful, especially with Emily's and my allergies. There must have been some cross-contamination, I muttered, more to myself than anyone else. Elizabeth was quick to defend herself. I didn't give her anything from the list you gave me. You have to believe me, Erica. I'd never put Emily in danger. I was too tired to argue, too relieved that Emily was okay to hold on to anger. We spent the rest of the day at the clinic, Emily gradually returning to her usual self, though still a bit groggy from the medication. That evening, after the longest day of our lives, Alex and I sat in the living room, holding each other, grateful for the quiet and that Emily was safe in her bed. The stress and fear had drained us both, but there was a sense of relief that it was finally over. Alex, ever the caretaker, got up to make us some tea. He spotted the pie his mom had brought over earlier on the kitchen table. "Hey, you want a piece of pie Mom brought?" he asked, trying to lighten the mood. "No, thanks. Just tea for me," I said, not having the slightest appetite for anything, especially not that pie. He shrugged and cut himself a piece. That's when he noticed something that stopped him cold. Looks like someone already had a bite." Then he took a bite, chewed thoughtfully, and his face changed. "Wow, that's a strong smell of peanuts." My heart stopped. Peanuts. The reality hit me like a ton of bricks. "Alex, that's it. The peanuts. Your mom, she knows I'm allergic. And Emily." I couldn't finish the sentence, the implication too horrifying to voice fully. The next day, we confronted his parents. The tension was palpable as we laid out the accusations. Alex, usually so calm, was shaking with anger. "Mom, did you put peanuts in that pie? You know Erica and Emily are allergic. What were you thinking?" His mother's face was a mask, but her eyes, there was something in them that chilled me. I just wanted to make a pie. I didn't think." But Alex wasn't having any of it. Didn't think? Or didn't care? "You could have killed our daughter." That's when his dad stepped in, his voice thunderous. "Is this true? You endangered your granddaughter? I can't believe this. I'm calling the police." And he did, right there and then. The police came, and faced with the evidence, Elizabeth didn't deny it. "I just wanted Erica out of the way," she said, a statement that would haunt me forever. After everything that went down, the dust finally settled. Elizabeth was sentenced to prison, a severe punishment that kept her away for a good long while. It was a tough pill to swallow, seeing family torn apart like that, but it was necessary, for Emily's safety and our peace of mind. A few weeks after the trial and all that, Alex's dad, Robert, showed up at our door. It was the first time we'd seen him since everything happened. The man looked like he'd aged years in just a few months, weariness etched into every line on his face. He didn't waste any time, just got right to the point. "Erica, Alex. I'm so sorry. For what Elizabeth did. I can't even begin to. I just never thought." Alex cut him off, not unkindly. "Dad, it's okay. We know you had nothing to do with it." Robert nodded, his eyes misty. "I brought something for Emily. And, if it's all right with you, I'd like to see her. Missed her like crazy." Looking at Alex, we shared a silent conversation. This was his dad, Emily's granddad. Family, despite the chaos and hurt. "Of course, she'd love to see you, Robert. Wouldn't you, Emmy?" I said, turning to our daughter, who was eyeing the big bag of gifts with wide, curious eyes. "Grandpa," Emily squealed, recognizing him instantly. The joy in Robert's eyes was unmistakable as he knelt down to hug her, handing over the gifts one by one, each wrapped with care. Later, sitting down with cups of coffee, Robert spoke up again. "I've filed for divorce. Can't stay married to someone capable of, well, you know. It's hard, after all these years, but it's for the best." Alex put a hand on his father's shoulder. "It's going to be okay, Dad. We're here for you. We're family." "Yeah," I added, squeezing Alex's hand. "We'll get through this together. And hey, Emmy's got her grandpa back. That's all that matters." Robert smiled, a genuine, relieved smile. "Thank you, both of you. Means the world to me. I just want to be a part of your lives, and Emmy's. Make up for lost time." And that was our new beginning. A fresh start, not just for us, but for Robert too. Life had thrown us a curveball, but we'd caught it, and now, we were moving forward, together.